All right, we're here with Mr. Dexter Quito, and we're in his music studio, as you can see. Dexter Quito is a music producer, he is a songwriter, and also a worship pastor. And so, thank you so much for allowing me to come into your humble abode.
You're welcome. So it's an honor for you to be here, and you did an amazing job. You're doing an amazing job here in Nashville, all I can say.
I appreciate it. Thank you. I'm excited to have this conversation. I know music production and digital music is such a hot topic right now when it comes to music and writing and songwriting. And so let's start with, can you talk a bit about, I gave an introduction, but can you talk a bit about yourself and what you do? Just music related.
I produce music, and I also teach music. I teach piano, violin, guitar, and voice. And then also, as Bryson said, pastor at a local church, a worship pastor. And that's what I do. Yes.
That's awesome. Awesome. Oh, thank you so much for sharing that. And guys, as we're talking today, listen really carefully, because we'll talk about how Mr. Quito got started and some of those positions that he just shared with you, and then even the platforms that he uses to create. So I'm gonna preface all that with this question. So what is music production? How would you define the word? We hear music producer all the time, and I have a feeling people probably label themselves as a music producer, not really knowing what it means. So what does it mean? What is music production?
What is a music production? Music production is basically the process of overseeing and doing the recording, the songwriting, the mixing, and the mastering aspects of everything that involves in making music or making a song in reality.
I like how you put that. So it's really, really simple. So it's basically the process. Music production is the process to get to the end goal, which is the recording of the song.
That's right, yes.
So a music producer is someone that just oversees that process.
Yes, exactly.
That's awesome. So I guess if we're labeling ourselves as a music producer and you are overseeing the process of completing a song, then you're right. That's awesome. Okay, well, let's talk about the programs that you may use and platforms that you use to do music production or just create music. What do you use in your studio?
I'm using two. I'm using Pro Tools and Ableton, and mostly probably Ableton in the last few years. But usually what I do in my process, I would record through Ableton because it's so intuitive and easy to do that there, and then my mixing and mastering process, I use it with Pro Tools.
That's cool. And you also do you're familiar with live production as well, right?
In live production using Ableton, yeah. It's very, very useful, and it's built for that as well. So, and yeah.
That's cool. So I didn't want to ask this. So just kind of off the record, how come is that your preference, choosing Ableton or Pro Tools, or or it's recommended?
It's probably more of an influence. Whoever you're influenced about that product, then you just go with that, and it's no better than the other one. It's just a preference. Did I say that right?
No, I like that. It was good.
It's culturally, whatever you are, your demographic, your influence, whatever they're using, you just go with that. You don't have to use, I need to use this program because, this is what's the best. No, just use whatever works for you.
That actually answers questions for me because you do hear people say that you should use Pro Tools, or you hear people say Ableton's better, or no, I use GarageBand, but it's really up to you.
Whatever works for you, yes.
I like that. Yeah, I like that. Okay, cool. And that kind of leads to the next question. Actually, before I get to that question, no, let's go ahead and ask this one. So if I want to begin, or one of our listeners, if they want to begin in music production or creating music digitally, how do you recommend them begin? And this could be a platform that you recommend them using, but how would you recommend them beginning?
The principle, really, what really works for me as far as the principle behind it, how do you begin music production, is limit yourself, limit your options. Less is more. So if you have a computer, if you have an interface, your instrument, and a microphone,
that's nice.
I think that's what, and then of course cables. You're set. You're set up to create music. It doesn't have to be the most expensive. Whatever's in your budget, as long as you have those 4, 3, 5 things. Computer, an interface, and a microphone, and your instrument.
That's great. So if I have my laptop. Okay, so I have my laptop. I have my computer, and I have a decent microphone, maybe like AKG. I have an AKG mic at home. So I have my microphone, my laptop, and my interface. And for those who don't know, interface is like, correct me if I'm wrong, but it's the thing that we're using to connect our other input sources. So like my microphone can speak to my computer, or my instrument can speak to my computer. So that interface is creating that ability. So yeah, my computer, my microphone, and my interface, and my instrument, I'm in business.
Yep.
So let's do this really quick. Can you just a couple things that you have up here? Because I know there's some listeners that are looking. Yeah.
That's fun. Okay, so my computer, we were talking about computer, right?
Mm-hmm.
So I'm using a Mac Tower, an old one right here. And then, I don't know if you can see that. You probably can't see it in but it's right there. And then going to my interface, I'm using my old interface. See, I haven't upgraded my interface. I still use my Focusrite interface, Sapphire. That goes connected to the computer, and I have a couple of preamps. I have Universal Audio LA610 Mark II right there, and then I have the Avalon 737, and then also have another compressor right here. It's from a company called Warm Audio, and it's a 76 compressor, limiting compressor. So, and a couple of speakers. I still have my speakers. Usually I use the white one for mixing, and that's the Rocket VX4. And for mastering, I use my Yamaha HS, and then also for mixing and referencing, I use my Avantone box right there. So, and Bryson's headphone, I'm using that too for mixing as well, which is the Avantone. I don't know how you pronounce the Avantone, but I think, yeah, those are the things that I have in here.
And then right behind you that's for your vocalists?
Yeah, this is for the for what do you call this, to the microphone, and also the SE absorption for
nice.
For vocals. So
awesome, thank you for the tour. And so I guess it's safe to say some of the things that you have here, the longer that you're producing and creating music, the more that you add on.
That's right.
But you can simply get started with your computer, your microphone, and an interface.
Exactly.
And get going. That's cool. Okay, well that's encouraging. So so I'm gonna backtrack a bit. And so we've talked a bit about what you do, and then you shared a bit about music production, and then how we can get started. But how did you get started?
How I get started with music production?
Mm-hmm.
I started when I was in college back in California, and I was studying violin and piano performance, and then I'm also doing a little bit of songwriting back then. And then a friend of mine recommended me to visit Nashville to go into a songwriting classes here in Nashville. So I went, and from there met some new friends and came back to California. Still kept in touch with his friends. And eventually I moved here, and then from here influenced everything that I do, from songwriting, now teaching music, and also doing music production and having a studio and doing the music production.
Wow, that's really cool.
The short story.
That was great. And so, wow, so that was literally like a faith move coming to Nashville then.
That's right.
From California. That's
From
almost clear
California,
across
yeah.
the country. That's
That's
awesome. Right. Nice. Okay. Well, great. So I'm going to shift gears just a little bit. So this is, now we're talking more about, I I guess the importance of understanding the basics of music production. So do you feel that it's important for musicians of any genre, or just musicians in general, to understand the basics of music production? Do you think is that valuable for them or important?
I think the basic is very important because, you know, you're starting from scratch. Let's say you're a songwriter. Eventually you'll have to record your song, and you know, at least a basic understanding of how to record that with your guitar or piano and your vocal is very, very important. So songwriting and then recording it, it's very, very important before we even get to mixing, and then eventually doing master and then putting it out in the world.
And I'll even say this, I mean, this may be a little separate from digital audio workstations, but like right now, I'm just thinking about musicians that are applying to universities or music festivals. And so I'm thinking more about our high school students that are classically trained and going to school for music, but they're having to record themselves and understand, I guess, the audio, like audio, and making sure that their best audio is being captured. So, and I may be talking to some of you out there, but you're using microphones, and you're hooking those microphones up to your computer, and you're trying to capture the best sound. So you're having to learn those basics or understand those basics.
Yeah, and I used to do that before. By the way, you know, when I record my own song, and then I would send it to a mixing guy or a mastering guy, and they would say a long time ago, they would tell me, hey, you know, you need to record this better, or you need to mix this better before sending it. And so that really initiated me to, okay, I really need to get a better understanding on how to record this better, or at least do the proper initial mix, you know.
Especially with COVID right now, we don't know how long this social distancing and then some of this digital world that we're in is going to last. So understanding some of these basics of just recording music production is really important. That's great. So I'm going to shift gears even more. So we're all in music education, whether we're students or we're educators or we're families. Our students or our children are in a music education class. So do you believe that music is valuable in education? And if so, how come? Can you speak a bit on that?
It's very valuable because music education, I believe it could be the foundation of everything, every studies that you have. And you know, music education provides a lot of things, including self-esteem in a child, for example. You know that. And also the basic skills, even communication and everything. It's so important. And even scientifically, you know, they did a study this scientifically, all the benefits of music and the education that brings into a person or even a child. You know, it influences everything in you, your outcome, your personalities, and just it brings a lot of positivity.
That's really good. And we were talking a bit before you guys joined us too.
And I hope you're all this is still recording.
we talked a bit before this, just around like even the artists that during this We Are Nashville week that you've been able to watch and see and experience. And then even Mr. Quito, and even myself, we wouldn't be where we are today if it wasn't for our music educators, music teachers, and music classes. So yeah, I love that question. I love hearing the responses. So, okay, let's share a little bit of advice. So if you could share any bit of advice, it could be music related, it could be anything. So we're thinking about, so we do have listeners that are in elementary school, all the way up through high school, and of course, families and our educators. But if you could share a bit of advice to your younger self, what would you say? Making you think.
Interesting.
I like questions like this. So yeah, if you could share some advice, this could be your 16-year-old self, this could be your 10-year-old self. And we definitely have listeners that are around that age. What kind of advice would you share with you?
I would say probably keep growing your craft.
That's good.
I know you're in school, so it's probably easy to do that. But if you're out of high school and, or in college, I would say keep growing your craft, whether that's in songwriting, in music production, or whatever aspect that you do. Keep growing, keep honing that. Whether that's, with your education, and especially with communities. That's very important, meeting people while you're honing that craft and developing that craft.
That's good. So keep working and developing your craft and kind of knowing what brings you, and I bet it is music for a lot of us, but what it is that brings you joy, and what it is that you love to do. And a lot of times we find that out when we don't have any demands on us, and it could be a Saturday and you have nothing else to do, but you end up going to play your musical instrument, or you're fiddling around the piano, or you're writing. That could be your craft. So make sure, just don't give it up. That's really good. I like that. All right, here's our last question. So the name of the event, this whole virtual event this year, the past years we've been in person, and the song that was birthed from this event is called We Are Nashville. So when you think about the phrase We Are Nashville in any aspect, what comes to mind? What does that phrase mean to you?
That a great songwriter wrote a song called We Are Nashville.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
No, I think when you hear We Are Nashville, it comes to mind a couple of things. Diversity, strength, being together, coming together. I think there's strength, there is, unity, in being in harmony.
Nice.
With one another, especially with, Nashville, one of the capital music city in the world.
Yeah.
And people come here and from around the world, basically, and just helping one another, not just through music, but also with all the calamities that we had experienced in the past year, and coming together and helping one another as a community. I think that speaks a lot with that phrase, We Are Nashville.
Yeah.
So great job in writing that song and the title. Bryson is he's a good friend of mine. Very talented, not just a music educator, but also, he sings to our church, lead worship in our church as well. And a talented musician, singer, and a music producer, himself. So,
I appreciate it.
I'm just gonna put this back to you.
No. I appreciate it. And I gotta say, to piggyback off what you said too about Nashville being such a rich place for music, you guys live here. And so that's part of the reason that we offer this opportunity, or this We Are Nashville event, the virtual space, exposing you to what's right here in your city. Okay? Even at the age that you're at, for you to know and be exposed to what's available and what's right here in the community that you live in. So thank you so much, Mr. Quito. If we want to get in contact with you, what's some ways that we can find you? How can we find you virtually?
Virtually, okay. The website, dexterquito.com, and Facebook, I'm there. I'll probably I have Twitter and Instagram, but I use more on Facebook, and also shout out, of course, lighthousemj.com. So,
nice. Okay. Yep.
Cool.
That's great. That's great. Awesome. So, guys, that'll also be listed on our website, so you can click on the link.
What's the website?
So it's We Are Nashville Festival.
WeAreNashvilleFestival.com.
Okay. Mm-hmm. If you look right below this interview, you should be able to click on Mr. Quito's link and access them. So, all right. Thank you so much. Thank you, and enjoy the rest of your week.